Hello, my name is Mark and I am an IELTS teacher at West London Tuition Academy. Today we're going to be looking at the listening part of the IELTS exam. Specifically, we're going to be looking at a type of question we call the multiple choice part 1. So that implies there's a multiple choice part 1 and a multiple choice part 2. First of all, let's look at the difference between the two. Okay, so here I have a type 1 multiple choice question. As you can see from the instruction, choose the correct letter A, B, or C. So we simply need one answer. These questions usually have 3 choices. Sometimes they have 4. Okay, what does a type 2 multiple choice question look like? Let's have a look. So we have one here. So the difference is really that in a multiple choice type 2, we can select 2 or more answers. Take a look at this type 2 multiple choice question. What 2 types of coursework are required each month on the part-time course? So we're going to need to pick 2 different answers. Some of these questions can have 2, 3, or even 4 correct answers. So that's type 2. So today we're going to concentrate on type 1. Okay, so how do we approach type 1 question? First of all, as in any exam, it's important to read the instructions very, very carefully. You need to check to see what type of multiple choice question it is. Firstly, is it a type 1? Is it a type 2? If it's got a title, look at that, which might give you a clue about what you're going to be listening to. Okay, what else? Underline the key words in the question. Don't forget, you can write on the question paper. There's no problem with that. And the key words are vital for picking the correct answer. Okay, our next phase is to think of synonyms and paraphrases for the key words we've selected. Fourthly, if you can, try to predict the answer. This isn't always possible, but it might be if you've got a clue from the title and possibly some context that's given in the audio instructions. And some of the question answers might not match those titles. So there's a chance you might be able to guess or make a good guess of what the answer is. Another point is all the options in the multiple choice will probably be given in the audio. So listen very carefully for distractors. Distractors typically use words such as but and however. I've got a little example of a distractor for a type 1 multiple choice question here. So the question is, choose the type of insurance chosen. We have 3 choices: economy, standard, premium. So in the audio, you might hear something like this. Well, I've always selected economy in the past, but as it's really important, I'm going to select premium. So you can see there, the first thing you will hear is, well, I've always selected economy. So you immediately are drawn to the economy answer. Then he uses one of the typical distractor questions, but, and he says, but as it's really important, I'm going to select premium. So the answer is in fact premium. Incidentally, note the use of selected in the audio rather than chosen, which is in the question. Okay, so let's move on. Let's look at an example from an official IELTS site. Okay, you can see the question there. Now, what I'd like you to do is to look at that, pause the video, and I want you to think about what we've just talked about. I want you to read the question carefully, decide, is it a type 1, is it a type 2? I want you to underline the keywords or note in your, if you've got paper, write down the keywords. think of synonyms and paraphrases for the keywords. If you can, maybe try and predict some of the answers. Okay, so pause the video now, take a few minutes and try to do that. Okay, I'm assuming you're back now. Let's have a look at it. Okay, so let's read the question very carefully. Choose the correct letter A, B, or C. It's a type 1. We know that because we only need to pick one answer. Okay, Andrew has worked at the hospital for. What's the keywords here? Well, hopefully you'll have guessed the keywords are worked and hospital. Next question. During the course, Andrew's employers will pay. Keywords here. Employers will be one of the keywords, and pay. Okay. What about 23? What do we think the keywords might be there? So hopefully you'll have said course and lasts. Okay, so now we know our keywords. Let's try and think of some paraphrases or some synonyms. Okay, so worked, hospital. Okay, how about you could say something like Andrew had been employed at a clinic. A clinic, say, synonym for hospital. Employed is a synonym for worked. Employers and pay. Perhaps, and we talk about Andrew's company, the company he works for, or maybe instead of pay, we might say they will fund Andrew's studies, something like that, perhaps. And finally, we have course and lasts. Okay, so course, that's quite a difficult one to paraphrase or to have a synonym for. So perhaps something like class. Lasts for endures. It's talking about a period of time. So we're thinking around words like that. Okay, so let's move on. So what I want us to do now is to listen to the audio. Okay, so I'm going to start the audio first of all. I will start with the introduction that you will hear in the exam itself.
You will hear a conversation between a student, Andrew, and a student advisor, Monica, about a diploma course.
So straight away, you have a little bit of context there. This is a conversation between a student and a student advisor. So they're going to be talking about courses, they're going to be talking about academic things. So you've got some context of what the conversation is going to be about.
First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25.
So at this point, they will give you somewhere between 30 and 40 seconds to look at the questions and to use the strategies we've just been talking about. Reading the question properly, looking for the keywords, synonyms, predicting, and of course avoiding anything that might distract you. Okay, so let's listen. I'll move the video. It will give you 30 or 40 seconds, but I'm going to move the audio on to the actual point, which should be about somewhere around here. So let's have a listen.
5.
Excuse me, I was told to come here for advice about management diploma courses.
You've certainly come to the right place. Hi, my name is Monica.
Nice to meet you. My name is Andrew Harris.
So, Andrew, have you seen our diploma course prospectus yet?
Yes, I've already looked at it. In fact, I thought the information on course content was really useful. But I'm afraid I'm a bit confused by all the different ways you can do the course. Full-time intensive, part-time, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's see if I can help. I think each course type has its advantages and disadvantages, so it really depends on you, your own study habits, and your financial circumstances, of course. Are you working at the moment?
Yes, I've been working in the administration section of the local hospital for the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, I worked in the office of a computer engineering company for 2 years. So I've got about 5 years of relevant work experience. And
So here, she's directly asked him about his work. She didn't use a synonym. She just said, "Are you currently working?" So when he replied, he mentioned all three options. I think he said that he'd worked at the hospital for 3 years. He'd worked for a computer company for 2 years. And so he feels that he has 5 years relevant experience. So the question is, how long has he worked at the hospital? And the answer to that was 3 years. But you can see that they will, most of the time, they will mention every single option to try and distract you. Just listen very carefully for your key word. Your key word there was hospital, as we talked about.
what I'm hoping to focus on is personnel management.
I see. And are you planning to leave your current job to study, or are you thinking about just taking a year off?
I want to know what my options are, really. I don't want to quit my job or anything, and my employers are keen for me to get some more qualifications, but obviously it would be better if I could do a course without taking too much time away from work.
Right. So you don't really want to do the full-time course, then?
No, not really. It's also a question of finances. You see, my office have agreed to pay the cost of the course itself.
So he says, my office has agreed to pay for the course itself. He doesn't directly say, my employers will pay my fees. They talk about the costs. So costs is a bit of a synonym for fees there.
But I would have to take unpaid leave if I want to study full-time, and well, I don't think I could afford to support myself with no salary for a whole year.
And he mentions salary there, he throws salary in there, so that's another of the options mentioned within the audio, but the correct answer is they would pay for his fees, they'll pay for the costs of the course.
Okay. Well, you have two other possibilities. You could either do the part-time course, that would be over 2 years, and you wouldn't have to take any time off work, or you could do what we call a modular course. You could do that in
So here she specifically said, she talks about the part-time course, and what did she say about the part-time course? She says it would be over 2 years. Okay, so she doesn't say lasts for, she uses a paraphrase there. She says you could do the part-time course, which would be over 2 years. So there's a paraphrase of the question there. Okay, let's listen to the last part.
18 months if you wanted, or longer. It's a time course, that would be over 2 years, and you wouldn't have to take any time off work. Or you could do what we call a modular course. You could do that in 18 months if you wanted, or longer.
So there we see the final distractor. She mentions the modular course, which is 18 months. He's not doing the modular course. We're specifically asked for the part-time course. That's our keyword. That's what we're listening out for. And that's what she mentioned. She does mention 2 years. So we know the final answer is 2 years. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the lesson. And more importantly, I hope you found it useful. If you would like to join our online IELTS course and would like further details about how to register, please contact us on the email and WhatsApp on our YouTube channel. And please do subscribe. Thank you.